Good morning, everyone. Today we have a very special guest, Paula Loos. How are you today, Paula?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking. How are
So,
you?
thank you for joining us and having your time to be with us today. Paula has been involved in the movie sector, entertainment, sustainability. So, tell us a bit about that. How this is all started.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it started way back.
Okay.
I just it started. Okay, let's say well, so much to share. I Let's go back to how I started working in film.
Okay.
I studied graphic design school for 4 years and graduated. And then I had the opportunity to work with one of the top agency as well in the Netherlands and also in the world because they're worldwide, DDD, worldwide. I don't know if I can share that with people. Um, and so then when I was starting there as an intern, I got, I said, exposed to filmmaking because they also were making commercials.
Right.
And the graphic design world is nice, but you sit behind your computer all day, behind your laptop. It's a bit boring, is what I thought. And so when I went out in the field and I saw those people working on a commercial and all the people were doing a little piece of that, making it together to come to moving images, was sold. So I worked for 1 year in advertising, and then I was like, nope, this is not what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And so I went to film school. And from film school, I graduated in 2024. And then in 2025, the film school asked me to guide some students for a set build project.
Okay.
And they had a trip to New York. And I took the trip to New York. And in New York, I found a Blackberry. And the Blackberry was from a producer in LA. And that's where the seed was planted. So I went back to the Netherlands working film, and I still had that little seed. Can I make it happen in LA? And so, by the way, I'm from Amsterdam. If people don't know that, I'm just
Okay.
with you.
Yeah.
That's where I'm originally from. So I went. I had it in my mind, and then one day, a friend of mine was calling at 7 p.m. He said, "There's something you can apply for. They picked 10 of us filmmakers who want to make it in LA, and you can sign up for it." And I think I had like 1 hour to fill in the whole application and collect work. And I delivered my work and I became one of the 10. And that gave me an opportunity to start exploring the world in LA. And yeah, that's when that adventure started. So I moved myself to LA working in films. What happened there is the sustainability conversation came in because obviously I'm from Europe
Yeah.
and the toilet paper has a certain size. And then I visited the States and I was like, wait a minute, why is the toilet paper much wider in the US than in Europe? And so while I was working in film, and in film, you have it's a job that you take on a job for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 months,
Yeah.
sometimes less, sometimes more. Then you have a gap. You're gonna go for your next job. And between my jobs, I start researching everything about toilet paper, and that's how that whole passion for toilet paper started. So it's yes, being curious about what else is out there in the universe that we don't know. Because I had no idea that there's so many things about toilet paper that don't make sense. I can tell you
Amazing.
something about that.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Before we get a bit more detail to that, you were involved in many movies with renowned actors. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I was blessed. For example, the first commercial for no, the first feature film. So in wait, I'm gonna 2 steps back. In the US, you have non-union films and union films. You might know about that. And if
Okay.
you want to work on the bigger scale films, you have to be in a union. So
Okay.
before I start working in the United States, I had to get my working permit, so you get your working visa, my artist visa, and then I thought first I was like, yeah, I'm in, but then you have to apply to get into the union. So while I was working on small shows like commercials and independent films, I applied as an apprenticeship for the union, but they already thought I was overqualified because of all the experience that I had in the Netherlands. And then the first job that I worked on was the Passengers, and the Passengers that was in the union, and it got nominated for an Oscar.
Amazing.
But we win the AGD awards. So that's one of the projects that I was working on, and obviously for designer. And at that time I just supported Guy Dyas, who designed that movie, and
Okay.
I was supporting him with inspiration. So I knew everywhere where the movie is, like, find it inspiration, because I was the source of it, and able to work on a, like, I think the movie was 120. It's such a great experience working with all the creatives in the art department on the design, looking at textures, and it's a it's a sci-fi film, so it doesn't exist. So how much
Yeah.
fun is it
Yeah.
to create something that doesn't exist? And then afterwards, I had the opportunity to work on more movies with also like Pierce Brosnan, Thurman. I worked with, what was also a great adventure in Chateau Marmont with some friends. Uh, yes, it's just a great, crazy, nice, good journey.
What most you remember, when you were working in all these movies? What was the most insightful for you, and what you most remember from it?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I think one of the things that I just had to explore is that when I was working in the Netherlands on independent film, I always thought, if there's more money, they probably are very organized and got all the I cannot say the word, but they have everything, figured out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought, because they have more budget, they have more people, they must be streamlined, and they have to be like some more structured than in the independent world where I came from. That was not the reality at all. I really found out that it's really communication and lines of communication. If you don't set it up properly, it
Yeah.
get lost, it get chaos. And so, of course, there is a certain structure, but you still deal with all kinds of breakdowns that need to be solved. It's not that you're working on a bigger show that you don't have any breakdowns, right? And also, inside of the bigger movies, inside of that, you also have different ways of working. Because, for example, the Hitman's Bodyguard that I art directed, they have different countries they were shooting in, and I took on the Amsterdam part. But the things in Amsterdam are going a certain way, but in a different country it goes a certain way, and things has to, come together. It stays chaos, even though there's more money. It doesn't mean there's no chaos. I think that's a big learning curve that I took also with me for the rest of my life, because you can organize everything as good as possible, and there still will be breakdowns.
So what you're saying is that improvisation is the main thing that you're supposed to have in this kind of movies, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's also like, you can also imagine that, well, if you put 300 people together and you want to have them all in the same point of view within what they are able, what their knowledge is and what they bring to the table, and you want to do that in a half a year, it takes something, right? It
Right.
really takes something. And
So,
yeah,
I mean, in the role that you had in all these movies, I mean, you started as art designer. You did several roles, or was always the
yeah.
same?
No, no, no. I just developed myself. So in the Netherlands, I did mainly art direction and production design. So I
Okay.
went to film school and I studied production design. Now, production design, um, It sometimes also has to do with the communication, right? Because you talk to the director, the DP, and the producer, because obviously they hold the budget. But it's also like yeah, there are different roles. But for example, I'm just gonna share this. This each country has also different naming for different roles, and that's what I also have to find out. For example, in the Netherlands, if you're an art director, you're head of department. In commercials, if you're art director, you're head of department. When you work in film and you're art director, you're not head of department. You are the one of the people working with the production designer to execute
Right.
design. And then the production designer works together with the set decorator. It's, if you're in the business, you probably recognize it. If you're not in the business, like, whoa, what are all those titles? But to come back to your question, because what you ask is like the different roles, and I just like
Yeah. Yeah.
bit of topic. But that's I did. So first of all, for the I started with in the union as assisting art director, so I was the right hand of the designer. Then I art directed the movies, and now I'm only taking on design jobs.
So, if I mean, if you had to give advice to fellow other people like you out there,
Hmm.
what advice would you give them for them to feel more comfortable to have such roles in this type of movie?
Um, that's a good question because my journey went from assistant to director to designer.
Right.
I think you can jump right in design if that's what you want. Um, and to have a good understanding of all the elements in your team, I do advise to go and take everything on if it's just for one job, right? Go be go do set decoration for one job and find out your sources. And now as a designer, you don't have to know everything because that's what other people do, but at least you got a good sense about what's happening inside of your team. Because not it is when you grow in the jobs that you do. For
Sure.
example, in Africa, I think there were about 100 people on the art department team, and I've not seen them all. But if I look at all the people who just like working on it and day players, and day player is somebody who comes up for one day, then it's good to know what the overall lines are. But also nice to be a day player one time on a movie, so you can experience this for yourself. Because I didn't like it when I was a day player, and
Okay.
and my boss came along on set. I saw a boss, but the head of department, they didn't even say hello, and I'm like, you don't say hello. And then that kind of thing, I'm valuing that, so I can
Yeah.
say, hey, thank you so much for working on this job. I really appreciate your effort you put in there to make this job come alive. Because I noticed myself how that was in that role, that people don't even, relate to
Yeah.
you at all. So that's what I say. So yes, take a little peek in everything what comes in your department, so you know and have an understanding when you are a production designer what's happening in your team.
So, what are the projects you can tell us that you were involved in? I mean, in the movie or entertainment, or what are your next goals?
Right now, oh, this is great. So I'm currently working on a commercial for big brands, and that's also a nice job. Um, so there are several countries with some. It's yeah, it has with some sport people. I just cannot say a lot about it, but then
Sure.
so they shoot in different countries with sports celebrities. And then the logistics, that's like one of the important things to get everything together. So there's a lot of things that's minutes, but we are used to that, so that's fine. um, and then another job, I got hired last week on a movie that's starting in May, and that's taking place in the US, so I'm very excited about that as well.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And there's also, I cannot share a lot about it,
Sure, sure. It's
but
okay. I understand. I
yeah,
understand. But anyway, keep us posted for
yeah.
us to know what's coming from you. I mean, I'm always interested in that. So, and within all this career, then you started the sustainable idea about paper
Yeah.
and the toilet paper. So, from what you already explained us, how that it started, how did you came up with the manufacturing process of the materials and all this to come up with the idea?
I love that question. Okay. Um, so I started to doing research
Okay.
and I looked at my competition. And so how I got to my supplier, for example, this is a great example. So I went into LA because to an event where there was a brand and that shared about their production and about their journey and about, so there was one of the owners was there, and I was listening to it and I thought, there are things that you're saying are not exactly how it is in my experience, but hey, let's hear more about it. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to get the details and I'm going to see if I can get on a call with one of the owners to see how he started the journey and what was his first factory.
Sure.
And so I got with him on a Zoom and I said, hey, this is my goal. I'm about to shake up the toilet paper industry and producing a roll that is smaller. What is fun because the patent pending is it's getting close. So I'm very excited about that. But and he said, okay, but said, where do you start it? Because what happens? He said, well, I said, I don't want to go to China for my factory. He said, well, I'm going to tell you a secret. With your idea, you have to go to China. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I called all the factories in Europe, and they didn't want to cooperate with my idea. And he said,
Right.
no, I told you, you have to go to China. I said, where did you go? He said, this is where I go. I say, thank you very much. So because they are already successful, or they are successful in what they created and doing good for the world. And so I just, yeah, kind of copied a part of their idea. And then I went to China, and then I found a factory, and they are having a certificate paper.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about this factory, because I didn't went there myself, but what I requested, if they sent me videos. So I got samples. I asked them for videos about their process. I
Okay.
found out things that are not pretty about the industry, and I just can share that with you because I want people to know.
Okay.
If, for example, you have recycled paper, people don't take it for granted. It ain't necessarily recycled paper. You think it is recycled, but there are just leftovers from virgin pulp trees. So you just actually, yes, it's recycled. It's recycled, but it's not from a cotton box. It doesn't come from the newspaper. So if you buy a toilet paper and it says cotton box or newspaper, then it's recycled from those products. Otherwise, it's just leftover from virgin pulps that they're gonna reuse to do this. So the source is not, at the end it's all tree, of course, most of it, but it's not really sourced from outsourcing outside the trees and outside the natural ways of fabricating. So that's how I got my materials. I did my research. I was very happy with the factory that they are so open because they share videos, right? So they guide me through the factory, because obviously if you buy another plane ticket, that's also not very environmental for nature. Although sometimes I do travel, but
Yeah.
I do make sure that, for example, I don't have a car in the Netherlands. I do that on purpose because I get more mindful about my traveling. And obviously, I live in a city, and they have shared cars everywhere. So if I want to drive an SUV, I hire an SUV. And if I want to drive an electric mini car because I only have to go a few blocks, I hire that. So I just really use for my purpose what I need. And
Yeah.
so I think that's as well with what we should do with toilet paper, actually, just think about it. What do you actually have eaten and what do you need? And then use the product. But yeah. So I'm gonna go a little bit off topic because I'm so excited. I hope you don't mind. But
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, we can go in more detail, whatever you want to share about that. It's very interesting, actually, because some of the points I wasn't aware. Uh, but just to make a remark, was
yeah,
it all the idea? I mean, you knew how to process to make all this toilet paper really, recycling, etc.
mhm.
I mean, did you invent that to the factory, or did the factory help you?
No, no, I didn't invent it from the start
Okay.
because what we needed was proof of concept.
Okay.
And so if you want to do an investment, if we talk about investments, right? If you
Yeah.
want to do an investment, then it takes you about like, well, you can set up a toilet paper mill, let's say for 1 million or for two, but you can also do it for 250, depending on the process. There's a variation of what you can put in there. But at the point when we started, people were like, why would I use a smaller roll? That doesn't make sense. Factories in Europe didn't want to work with us because there's a process like you have a mother roll
Yeah.
and you have blades, and then they had to edit blades in order to get my size. But that means you have to change all the blades because otherwise the one is more sharper than the other one. So it's easier to replace all the blades, have them even sharp, do my production line, take the blades off, readjust the blades, continue. And so it takes time. So in Europe, they didn't want to change it because it's like you have to see it's almost a 24-hour
Right.
process.
Right.
So if you
Right.
take it out 4 hours for another person that comes with an idea to, change the size of the toilet paper, then that would be already maybe too much effort, and it only can be in a certain way when they time it right. So that's what I was bumping into. But obviously in China, they're a little bit more customer, I would say, client friendly for me because they say, oh, first they say, no, we cannot do that. I'm like, you can do it because I already had tested it in Los Angeles. I found a factory uh, who could cut the smaller size.
Okay.
We sampled it, but then the packaging was a problem, and I couldn't. Not a problem. It was a challenge. The packaging was a challenge. I don't want to talk problems. So it was a challenge, and so we couldn't get the smaller rolls in the right wrapper, and so that didn't work. And then in the Netherlands, they had this all support for startups and sustainability. So I thought, okay, US, nice. I'm gonna get my proof of concept in the Netherlands, and then we're gonna expand. But and no buts. So I'm just like, yes,
And I mean, where the stage where you are. I mean, you planning to go internationally? What are your ideas at the moment?
yes, I really want to go internationally. So I'm not ready for that. There's still, well, this is it. I am ready for it. So if people want to do business with me, please reach out. Um, or with the company, let me say that. I have, I know where to go,
Yeah.
and I see that there's like still more to gain in Europe. So ideally, I would move to the US in 3 years. But I have people are already asking me. For example, I have people say, "Hey, I got a deal with an cruise ship. They would benefit from your products. Can you deliver?" And I'm like, "Well, I could, but it has to do some more research because it's you have to open your business in the States, and you have to, and that work capital right now, I don't have that available because I bootstrapped everything. So with bootstrapping, it also comes with a certain flow, and I know at one point we have to go beyond that to make impact because the big goal is to make impact.
Of course.
And we're going to find out when that moment will be that I find the right partner who do it, because it's not all about, hey, I have the money for you, I bring it in. That's not how we operate. We want to have an engagement. We want to have people who are also, you know, going for nature and a planet and something that works for the future.
With the same mindset that is compatible with the ideals of what you're doing. You know,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. And I see that the relatedness, right? Because when I started in film and I got the desire to work in the United States, because I also had it like, if you're going to work on a movie, you put all your love and your energy in it, you want to have it as many people seeing what you created. And so I had it in the Netherlands, for example. We are a small country, and yes, people enjoy it, but how much more people, how much more impact can you make if you make films in the United States, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And for example, the funny part is that I worked on a Swedish film, Pleasure, and that was created and invented in Europe, and we shot it in LA. So I was so happy, because then you can just put your knowledge and you can put your efforts in it there as well. But then at least it makes impacts. And I think that's the relatedness as well with the toilet paper project, with Toiless Paper, is that causing an impact and making a difference. And you want to have as many people get related to it, to their own habits and to what they can change and what they can contribute to the world. I get a bit passionate about it. I hope you
No,
don't mind.
it's fine. I totally agree because I have the same mindset as you. I think that the main point here is try to explain to people why they should change their mindset and start using sustainable toilet paper.
Yes.
Can you tell from your perspective?
Yeah, I love that. So for the people who are listening, what I created was actually, so this is what I did. Can I just do a little demonstration?
Yeah, sure.
Good. I like it. I prepared.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, for the people who are listening, you have to see this video if you if you wanna, if that's possible, right? Okay. So this is a
Yeah.
regular. You have the regular roll of toilet paper.
Okay.
So what we did is that I'm gonna make it a little bit nice and neat. This is toilet paper. So as you can see, toilet paper I cut off,
Yeah.
and this is like in Europe it's a little bit less, but in the US it's about 20 to 25%. I cut it off the size. Now, this one is a smaller roll, this is a bigger roll. If you have a smaller roll of toilet paper, and we take for an average 3 sheets,
Yeah.
and you fold it the less width, you fold it in a diagonal, you can see you have strong middle part, that's when you wipe, and this is the wider roll, but you have even more width on a wider roll than on a smaller roll. So somewhere in history it was created toilet paper, right? And it was the size of a male hand, and it was even wider than this. But that was it. It was the size of a male hand, and that was it. And
Amazing.
so when we think about awareness, there's so much we don't know that we don't know. And that's one of the things. I was like, why don't we use smaller toilet paper rolls? So at least we save 20 to 25% for each roll that goes back to nature. We don't put it down the drain. But if we think about it, we can even save up to 40% that we put down the drains. There are 83 plus million rolls flushed
Yeah.
down the toilet each
Yeah.
day. If we
Yeah.
can reduce it with only 20%, or is it 30%, we will have so much benefit for all of it. Plus, if you get aware about your food intake, you can even measure your food intake on how much toilet paper you need. Now, that's the next level, I know, because we have to start at level 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is my input. Level 1 is come up with a small roll where people have to question about why do we have to do this? Why is there this woman telling us to use less toilet paper, or how to use it in the first place, right? So fold it and use this tiniest roll that you can find. And obviously we want you to buy our product so we can promote and put marketing and education out in the world. If you don't, we still love you. We love you when you are mindful about how much toilet paper you use. So that's step one. Bring the awareness, using a product to get there. At the end, what we are going for, like this is what I have visioned myself. By 2050, the
Yeah,
Netherlands will be the first country with no toilet paper at all. So I'm stepping into
amazing.
this sustainability conversation of emission free, like emission free country, like I'm jumping on that conversation. So what if we would eliminate in the Netherlands as first country all the toilet paper? I'm getting excited about that because I can see that right now it's toilet paper. But people, we build a little hook in people's
Yeah,
minds,
yeah,
and with that little hook, we want them to be creative. What else can they do to eliminate the use of toilet paper? Because there are other things that we are really like. I say what we really think is interesting is that in the morning when you take a shower, I'm gonna ask you. I think
okay.
this is a nice question. If you're gonna take a shower in the morning,
Hmm.
are you walking to your toilets to dry your butt?
I mean, it depends, you know. I mean, I don't really control that, but not really. Usually, I just take shower and shave. You know, because I normally do it. I mean, if I actually go to toilet, I actually do it before shower. Uh, and I mean that's the routine I do actually. You know, it's
Yes,
yeah,
you do. You go to the toilet, then you take a shower, and then you dry your butt with your towel.
yeah,
You're not gonna go back to your toilet to dry your butt with your toilet paper, right?
right, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's a fair enough point. So if we would shift back to bidet and we get in the end this nice, warm, this is a bit weird to say. You're gonna sit on the toilet and your whole tush gets spoiled. I don't know if I can say this on in a
Uh,
live show, but you understand my point. Then it would be so much better for nature, and it would be also a very nice experience. So everybody's gonna be
I mean, I did understood your point, but I think the next question for the ones who actually understood is, um, is that really or will be, you know, the routine solution? I mean, what is the idea when, for example, you were mentioning when toilet paper is removed? I mean,
yeah in
how would, how
2050.
it will be the routine?
Yeah, so I would so have you ever tried a Japanese toilet?
Yes,
What do you think about that?
I think it's a good concept, but to be implemented in Europe, I think people seriously need to change their mindset, and of course, at least try at least once, see
Yeah.
the difference, and then from that on, they can decide whatever it's better for them. But I can assure that the method in Japan is much more sustainable than anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Because actually, it was the first country that actually did that, and the process that they do right now is really top edge. I mean, we're talking about that some toilets that already have AI. You know, they
Yeah.
already have self control. They even control the amount of water that is used to be totally sustainable.
Yeah.
I mean, for the ones who don't know, I mean, of course, it's an experience, and I think it's the future, of course. But how far it will go being implemented in Europe? That's the big question.
Yes. That's why we're here. We're all about less paper, less toilet paper in the world. And I do think that we can make that shift. We're also now, for example, in the Netherlands, you're not allowed to drive with cars older than a certain year.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
government we need government support
yeah.
in order to make that happen. Um, and for
But
example,
I
and then,
mean, that
yes,
ruling, that ruling in Europe actually was needed because there was a lot of cars with no maintenance that were polluting a lot,
yeah,
and that was actually really needed to be implemented because
mhm.
I mean, almost 5 to 7% of Europe pollution was coming from non-maintenance cars that were circulating. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I get it, but then it's also the government, they support that. And then, for example, what do you think about smoking? The
I,
price,
I mean,
the prices went up, and the
it's controversial. I mean, find the person that works in the office that doesn't smoke. That's the other question, right?
I got that. But then it's also like we know it's not good for our health.
Yeah,
And so what what we did is we put those crazy I said images of lungs and body
yeah,
parts.
on the boxes of the cigarettes. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And then we raised the prices and people were like, "Oh, it's a lot of money, it's expensive and I don't have to do it, it's better for my health." So first we invented something that was the cigarettes, and
Yeah,
it makes you like fancy, and it's like,
yeah.
it's good. That's what we invented as people. We invented
Yes,
that. It was
yes.
our idea. We came up with that.
and,
And then
and and created a routine because I
yes,
mean there was a point that we were going to the office or a bar or a restaurant and everyone was smoking. Everyone, even if you didn't smoke, you were smoking too because the amount of smoke that was around you, you were smoking as well. So for people who actually didn't understood that, that was what it was. I mean, the
exactly.
person said, "I never smoked." You did. You did for sure. You
Then
went somewhere, people were smoking, you were smoking too.
yeah.
So yeah,
And so with that, I think that that's the same thing for a product, for example, like toilet paper.
yeah.
We wiping our butts. We don't clean our butts. We wiping our butts. And for example, I have because it's it's one of the conversations that I have because I have my goal that I'm after. And for example, and this is very personal, and also what I have with other people, they, for example, I spoke with a guy in an Uber, and he had an hemorrhoids,
Okay.
right? Oh no, he had a little part of his digestive system that was infected.
Mhm.
And then he had to do something with the doctor. And the doctor said, you should stop using toilet paper because it's not good for your butt. It's just not good for your butt. He said, I want you to use water a bidet, like anything, but don't use any toilet paper anymore because he couldn't. And then he said, I wish I knew it sooner because there are chemicals on toilet paper. You wipe your butt is also absorbing those kind of things. And I mean, it's a small detail. It's a small detail, but that's an impact on the human body. But then the impact on the other hand, right? The water that you drink, it has to be filtered. Most of it is filtered, or it comes from a source, and we outsourcing all that water. So
Just to complement that, I mean, it all started by the way we eat, also. Uh,
yes,
for
absolutely,
people who are not aware, especially office routine, which most of it eat fast food,
yeah,
it's very bad. People should be aware of what kind of quality of food they eat, what is the routine, not overweighted. That's very important because you don't need to eat 500 grams of food in one meal. If you eat 200, it's enough.
fine
Uh,
too. Yeah,
you just have to have the proper proportion of each protein, carbohydrates, vitamin that's on the same meal. So it's so measured. And of course, to be organic. That's the most adequate way of eating.
yeah,
I was a sportsman for a long time. In the end, I really had to quit because the amount of things I got involved with, and I don't have time, literally. literally I don't have time. It's not a matter of I'm putting excuse. No, I literally don't have time to go somewhere. So and it's a matter of okay, you have that routine, but at least you do something good in it, which is I eat healthy. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat industrialized food. All I eat is organic, and it's always cooked with olive oil or normal organic products that I put. And I never use, for example, marine salt. I always use pink salt, which is less sodium and more natural. I don't use pepper, for example. I use spicy herbs, natural herbs for flavor, or even the actual, the flavorings in the food, etc. And how do I got it all this? But I cooked for 20 years. In the end, if you want to do things the way you want, you need to do it yourself.
Correct.
And so I became nutritionist. I became, athlete, and I cooked my own food and the exact proportion. And this is very important when it comes to what we are discussing, because what are you putting inside your body? It's the reflection of what you have in daily. So if you're putting chemicals inside your body, the reaction, of course, it's abrasive. You can have skin reactions, you can have air reactions, you can have eye reactions, you can have allergies, you can have diseases, because you're putting chemicals inside you. It's normal. I mean, the human body itself can have reactions because it doesn't belong to yourself. So, and all that, of course, goes to the end reaction. So that's the point what we're getting at.
Hmm.
How does a person get this type of skin reaction? Or the amount of chemicals that the person might have ingested to a certain amount of years. So it became to that. So your skin gets, for example, in this case, more dabble. So in the end, it's totally touched. So of course, it needs to be restructured. But the only way you need to restructure is to change your diet. It's not a matter of, oh, let's do some creams. You don't need to do creams. You don't need. I mean, people have this idea of, well, let's do creams. Let's do this. No, the problem is not on the outside. The problem is in the inside. You know because what you eat is the reflection of you to the outside. I mean, if you're eating burgers every day, of course the skin will be degraded because you don't have vitamins, you don't have anything at all related to keratin, which is very important for the nails, for your eyes, for your hair, the skin itself, restructuring the cells. So I mean, this is the main thing. And people, what they do is they don't eat healthy, and then they try to restructure everything on the outside with creams, sometimes even operations. It's wrong, because you're not gonna get there. Even if you do operation now, in 2 years, if you don't change the way you eat, you have the same problem again. Because
Yes.
I mean, the
Yes.
chemicals are inside you, and that's how we come to that reaction. I just wanted to compliment the conversation as you
Yes.
started, about this person has this
And
problem on the butt,
I love
and
it that
all this started from the way you eat. Yeah,
yes, but I love it you bring it up because uh, um, it is as well comes back to awareness.
yeah, yeah,
If you are aware with what you put in your mouth and you know the impact of what you put in your mouth, right? If you drink 5 cups of coffee, yes, and you're gonna be surprised that your stomach hurts.
of
I'm like,
course.
yeah, don't you think that's related? And I know, for example, when I was younger, I didn't think about it, but now I'm like, the more you know, the harder it gets to not to do certain things, and that comes down as well. If you go to the restroom, for example, check what kind of toilet paper you have on your toilet. See what you have eaten. Did the food that you take in digest well? If not, do you make an adjustment? Maybe you need more grains.
Yeah,
Maybe you need more veggies. How do you feel when you wake up?
yeah,
Do you need more sleep? or we know when we put ourselves in lack of sleep. So I know, for example, I have to be mindful that I shift my calendar around. If I go to bed too late, that I will be a different person. But then bringing that awareness, that's, I think, is one of the uh, topics that we also want to say, that like toilet paper is not a brand about toilet paper. It's about awareness.
Yeah.
It's about, yes, we have a smaller size, but did you know why? Because of all the pollution that it brings. And I think that's also reflecting in that right now, because the toilet paper, it cuts down trees, right? And they say, yeah, we grow back trees. It's a different, most of the time it's different kind, fast grown trees. The water quality, right? That we,
Yeah.
all the things that we put in there, we can save so much energy. We can save so much for the water quality if we don't put all the junk down the drain. Luckily, there are systems now that are gonna work on that as well. But it's the same thing, like you poisoning your body, you're poisoning your earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. In the end, it all creates the excess of chemicals, and people
Yeah,
maybe don't realize even what you throw out. If it has a huge amount of chemicals, it's not going to be organic. So that's a thought that I leave there for people to think about, how
yeah,
they really should change, and to have the mind that is it normal what you just did? Because if it's not normal, then you should think about what you have eaten.
yeah.
That's the main concept of it. And not repeat it, of course, because what it happens, and I see a lot of this in society, as people see it and they'll continue to do it the same. They don't change. Why are you not changing? That you
That
should.
also has to do with awareness, because what I think I mentioned before, people don't know what they don't know. So, like, you open the conversation for me to share about toilet paper so more people can become aware.
Yeah,
Because I'm telling you, I think 80% doesn't even think. They go to the toilet because it's an easy product, it's always there, and they complain when it's not. It goes down the drain, people have no idea what's happened with it, and that's what it is.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the sooner when you open a conversation, then you have something, yes, to contribute. And then you can also, for example, I sometimes still have it, like, and it's not happened a lot, but then I'm in a rush. I'm not fully present. And then I go to the bathroom and there is the only way to clean myself is paper. And then I take too much sheets and then I'm like, dang it. But at least I think I dang it. At least I think, oh shit. I can
yeah,
say that
yeah,
right now. I can say, shit, that didn't work because I used more than I should. But the fact that I can even think it, that's a pot of gold, because then I can change it. If nobody would told me that I could make a difference on the planet by using less toilet paper, and the only reason why I found out is because it was so wide, and I do in the investigation about what is it in the first place, and why do all those companies want to sell more and more and more. And I'm definitely an advocate. I said advocate, yes. I'm saying to those big supplier cases as well, like,
sure.
hey, you wrap your toilet paper twice in plastic. Why? Is it needed? So we for example, we wrap in the carton boxes,
Yeah,
and we have no plastic. The first batch had plastic because I requested paper tape, but the factory was forgot about to put the paper tape. And you think, oh, it's raining. No, the carton box is thick enough. If you walk from your truck to your office to unload the paper, you'll be fine. We don't have we don't have problems with the delivery with the weather. Also because we're mindful about it, right? So
yeah,
trucks are getting unloaded from the shipping dock. It goes open, goes straight in, goes straight out. The people who are working also don't want to walk in the rain. Believe me, they rather stay dry.
yeah.
But yeah, it's such a big conversation. And
It is.
thank
In the end, it's a matter of starting somewhere, for people to be aware of all the things they never thought. Right? I mean,
yeah,
it's the thing that why do you have to do it always the same way? If there's a better way, you can do it the better way. You don't need
mhm,
to continuously doing the same way what you're doing because you think it was right. I mean, it's a matter of getting out of the box, saying, "What am I doing is really correct."
Yeah.
It's that mindset that I think is the awareness for people, you know, in to be aware in society. Because I mean, Europe is considered one of the most consumist societies in the world. When we consume, sometimes we overconsume. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a big issue with awareness because people are too busy with what they're doing daily. And they're not aware of all the surroundings and all the environmental surroundings that they have around them, and they misconcept what they're doing most of the time. And because, for example, we have a problem with clothing. People
Yeah.
sometimes buy too much clothing, and the clothing is not sustainable. And clothing actually is polluting 10% of the global CO2. That's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
All we eat, if it was organic, um, we could pollute much less than what we pollute when we see, for example, rapid food or the way industrialized food is produced. Um, there's a lot of pollution in there too.
That's true.
Um,
Because I was surprised. Thank you for reminding me that, for example, there are carrots being dismissed from the store because they look awkward. Because, for example, they grow with the two of them together and they only need one carrot. And I'm like, if we could embrace that, I mean, we're all different people, right? You are not
yeah,
me, I'm not you. Uh, why would we say, yes, you look that way, so you are in, and you look that way, no, you're out? Why are we doing that with veggies?
exactly.
What is
So
happening there?
it's the question that I always leave there, and for people to think how they should change, right? I mean, because
Yes.
I mean, everyone should change. Um, and for example, I did this experiment and I already spoken, and actually I'm going to do a program this Friday, which is actually going to be about healthy food and how people should have healthy routine. We do this every Friday as inspirational
Oh,
quote.
nice. Great. Yeah.
So I did an experiment a long time ago, and I put an industrialized chicken boiling in a pot for 1 hour, and I put on the other pot an organic chicken boiling for the same hour. The result was the industrialized chicken disappeared.
Really?
Disappeared. There was only the bones in there. And the other one was just cooked, and nothing is missing, and was still full up. So this is just an example for people to be aware of what you're eating.
Yeah.
It's meat. Why should it disappear? So from that point of view, you can have a perspective of seeing the amount of chemicals that that chicken had,
Yeah.
to grow because it's massive growth fastly, rapidly, and that's abnormal. So of course that's the result.
Wow.
But people who eat that type of meat, of course, they'll have abnormal results too because they a huge amount of sometimes even hormones. For example, with the cow.
Yeah.
Have you done cow meat and you put a steak in a pan and when you fried it, most of the times it comes a lot of water. If people ask why this comes a lot of water, because that's all the chemicals that the
Mm.
actual meat has when they make this cow growth.
Yeah.
A cow that, for example, grows normally, you just put it in a pan when you cook it, rarely comes any water from it. And the flavor and the way it tastes and the way it's cooked, nothing compare with industrialized. So this is just an example what is industrialized and what is organic.
Yeah.
And this is for people to think really what they are consuming daily basis. Yeah,
Absolutely. Exactly. I think that's the main thing that we have to bring that conversation to the table, and starting at an early age.
yeah,
Because what we did something very fun. We had a school, and the school, we asked them. We had kids, and then we made a little game, and then the kids, they're 2 to 4 years old. They had to cut a little tree. When the tree goes into a factory, you see
Right.
a lot of smoke, and then the toilet paper comes out, right? And then when you cut the tree, you see animals and birds escaping from the tree. And then the toilet paper roll goes to the toilet. You see a little girl on the toilet, and then they have to count their sheets to wipe. And then you see an animation. You see the sheets going through the action, and then they can get their toilet paper wiping certificates.
Hmm.
And so the children responded very well on the animals that were leaving the tree. And with that, they got related to, oh, if I use toilet paper, somebody else is losing his house, right? The animal's losing their house.
Yeah.
So if I use less toilet paper, then there are more animals keeping their house. And they got it. They really got it. They got really present to that. They can, have a saying on how that goes for animals. Because of course, like, you don't want to have this little cute bird losing his nest.
Of course.
But that's also bringing,
I think that's a great example to teach kids the reality. I think it's
yeah,
really a great example. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, because otherwise you have no, how would they know?
Yeah, yeah.
And also they what they do, of course, they learn, and then they lock themselves up and they do whatever they want. But when there's
That's
relatedness,
also, yeah, that's
yes,
also.
but if there's relatedness, then that would be something, that supports them for not using that much toilet paper.
So, Paula,
Yeah.
going next steps,
Yeah.
where do you see yourself within the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, 5 to 10 years. I love it. So in 5 to 10 years, we are in at least 5 countries in Europe,
Okay.
and we mapped out the global campaign, and we have for sure, like, um, have reduced the 83 million at least to an 80 million rolls a
I'm
day.
up for that. I think it's a very good goal.
Yeah. And then, yes, so the 25-year goals, but it would be also bringing the word out, sharing the
Yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
and bringing in the awareness. And yes, reduce the amount of used toilet paper at least by 3 million a day between now and 5 years. And obviously, we want to, this is it. I'd rather move steady
Hmm.
than going rapidly fast, and
Yeah.
it's going to be killed. Well, not going to be killed, but
We used to say there has to have baby steps in everything, and that goes
yes,
to life, and that goes to a company, that goes to a group.
yeah,
It has to grow from one day to the other. Everything takes time, and to be consistency and to have the proper dimension and to be properly organized, we have to go through steps. Yeah.
exactly. And exactly what you bring it up right that there as well. Because also when you start your company, because we're still a startup, you have to find your niche, and the communication in each niche is slightly different. So it's not like this is the message, throw it out there. You also want to be mindful with the people who are involved, right? So just take the time and explore with others, and then we get there. I am.
Very
I'm,
good.
I'm
Very good.
excited. If we speak to each other again in 2050, or maybe sooner, we can see the impact, wouldn't it?
For sure, we'll be in touch. I mean, that's for sure because I mean, definitely, we do have the same mindset in sustainability, and
Yes.
we have this, you know, you know what I mean. We have this mind, for this type of things that people sometimes call us crazy, but it is what it
Yeah,
is.
they do. They do. People are like,
Yeah,
"What are
we-
you doing? What are you gonna?" I said, "Well, we educate people how to use it. I re-educating people how to use toilet paper." And they're like, "What?"
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're not aware the way it's being used. I mean, it is what it is, and in the
Yeah,
end, it's the result.
absolutely.
So before we finish, anything else you like to add? Um, any thoughts that you like?
Perfect.
share more?
No, I would invite people reduce the use of toilet paper, be mindful,
Yeah,
and take care together of the planet for the future generations.
that's
I would
perfect.
say thank you, thank you, thank you for taking that on and bringing that awareness into your life.
I think it's a perfect message for people to be aware. Um, and before we finish, I always say my guests to say a power message. What will be your power message today?
Okay, my power message is if you believe it, go for it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So with that, Paula, we finished for today. It was really wonderful. I think it was very awareness and insightful conversation for anyone that hears it. I do appreciate all the time of this. I really enjoyed it for real
Yes.
because I do enjoy anything related to sustainability. I learned some processes that I was actually wasn't fully aware, and it was very insightful. Thank you so much for this time today. I truly appreciate it.
Yes. And I thank you as well for having me and just I love the work that you do and share perspective of different people on the planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. I appreciate it. Thank you all. That was all for today. Thank you.